So today I'm going to be showing you how to get this perfect pageant makeup look. This makeup look will look great under stage lights or for pictures, or if you just have an event where you want to look really regal and elegant and girly and feminine and just put together and pretty. It is a lot of makeup, but you just look really flawless and put together and polished. It's not so much that it's like, whoa girl, you just look very, very put together. So yeah, you could wear this with any color dress. You can always adjust it slightly to fit your dress colors or your skin tone or your hairstyle, whatever you want to. This is a great baseline makeup look. So I have lipstick on my teeth. So yeah, if you guys want to see how to get this makeup look, then keep on watching. And also, I know pageant season is coming up, but the main reason I did this video is so I could wear a tiara. Of course. Just kidding guys, keep on watching. One of my #1 tips for doing makeup for photography or for stage, or if you just want to make sure you look completely flawless, is to start with your eyes. Whenever I do people's makeup or suggest this tip, they kind of think it's a little weird, but I think it's just a phenomenal trick to make sure your eyeshadow looks sharp and clean, and it helps me so much when I'm doing eyeliner. I don't stress over the shape or anything. So I'm just going to take some of this Scotch tape, just normal tape, and I'm just going to take a little bit of it and I'm going to just put it on the back of my hand to get that first layer of like harsh stickiness off. And then I'm going to take this and I am just going to line it up at the corner of my eye so that it meets up with my eyebrow. And then I'm just going to kind of press that in so it looks like that. And this is going to just create a guideline for our eyeshadow, and that way you don't have to worry about your makeup getting all over your face, or you know, not having straight wings for your eyeliner if you choose to do a wing. So another question I get is what my favorite eyeshadow primer is, and I actually do not use eyeshadow primer, and I kind of personally feel it's a waste of money. I always just use a concealer to do my eyeshadow primer because it creates a nice clean base, and I feel like my eyeshadow sticks great to it. So definitely don't feel like you have to go out and buy a separate eyeshadow primer. I'm just going to use some of this Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and mine is in the shade Light Sand. And I'm just going to put some of this directly onto my eyelids. And then I'm just going to take my damp beauty blender and just blend that out. And then before I even blend out the other eye, I'm going to take some of my RCMA Translucent setting powder and a e.l.f. small tapered brush. I'm just going to pick up some of this powder on my brush and just stamp it all over my eyelid. So if you struggle with eyelid creasing, try doing this trick of blending out the concealer, and then before you do anything else, just go in and set that so you won't have as many creases. Okay, super simple, and now you have a nice clean base that is going to last all night. So I'm going to be using minimal eyeshadow colors for this look because really you don't need that many shades of eyeshadow for this. You could do this with basically anything in your collection, but the palette I absolutely recommend just if you're a beginner, if you're advanced, just for whatever you are, if you do pageants constantly, if you've never done a pageant before, if you just need something for every day, I totally recommend the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe eyeshadow palette. Mine is very dirty because I use it all the time, but this is what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm real close to my eyelids so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing for eyeshadow. So I'm going to start out by using this Real Techniques brush. It's kind of fluffier, a little bit denser and wide. I like this type of brush because it really just blends your transition color in there. So I am going to go ahead and take this light brown shade right here, and I'm going to just put that all in my crease. This is going to act as my transition color and just start a nice base for my crease. So you really just need to use light hand motions, you guys. You don't have to be super harsh. Just use really light feathery motions, and that will make sure that your eyeshadow is blended and that it's not super harsh or anything like that. And I'm going to concentrate most of the color on this outer portion of my eyelid. So I have a little bit of an arch in my brow, so I like to visualize that about from here out. I am going to kind of make everything deeper and darker because this will really give that feline feminine eye shape of kind of an elongated eye, which is just perfect for pageants and for photography. Okay, so after I put that, so now that I put that in my crease, I'm going to go in to a slightly darker brown shade. I'm going to pick up this kind of medium toned warm brown right here. And the next brush I'm using is from MAC. This is the MAC 217 brush, which I've had for ages. I've had this brush for ages, and it is just an amazing brush. It's just perfect for blending, and I absolutely love it. So really, I'm only going to use 2 blending brushes in this entire makeup look, so you don't have to go and splurge on a ton of brushes. So I'm just picking up that eyeshadow, and I'm just going to kind of fluff it on the outer corner first, and then I will slowly kind of bring it in, but I'm not going to take it as high and as far in as I took that color. You kind of want to just start going less high and less inwards with the darker your brown shades get. So I'm going to pick up this slightly darker brown that's more of a medium tone, and it's less warm, which is going to be perfect for layering. I think eyeshadow is all about layering. That will be really crucial to kind of creating a really soft yet intense eye look, and it will just look so amazing in pictures because it won't just be one harsh kind of color. It will look like layers and just really smoky and kind of seamless. So I'm just going to kind of place that in the same pattern as I've been placing the other eyeshadows, but once again I will be concentrating on that outer portion right here. So just really take your time and blend your eyeshadow, and it will help so much, I promise. I'm going to take this deepish dark kind of chocolatey brown color here, and we don't want to make this super smoky and dark. It is so important that your makeup for a pageant doesn't overwhelm your face. You just want to kind of accentuate your beauty. So I'm just taking the slightest bit of that on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to close my eye. And as you can see, I'm just using the lightest pressure ever. I'm just kind of blending it right on that outer portion of my eyelid. Right here. And slightly into that crease. You just want to ever so slightly focus it right here to kind of give that depth to your eye. So I am going to pick up, this is a really warm toned shimmery creamy white shade, and I'm going to mix ever so much of this really bright gold shade. This is a nice tip that sometimes people don't think about. They feel like they don't have the exact eyeshadow color they need, but you can totally mix a couple colors of eyeshadow and create that perfect eyeshadow color that you're aiming for. So this is a bit of a splurge product. This is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance Glitter Glue, which is just a glitter bonding eye primer. And this is a bit more expensive than most of the products I'm showing you, but honestly, I have had this for literally years, and I have not even come close to using all of it. It's such an amazing product, and it truly will make your eyeshadow, and especially glitter eyeshadows, last forever. So I'm just taking it on a small flat brush, and I'm going to close my eye, and I'm just going to press it all over my eyelid. I'm going to put more of it on that inner corner area. And if you can kind of see, I'm kind of carving out my eyelid. This is not a must do. Don't feel like you have to get a perfect penciled line. You definitely do not. But I think it really opens the eye when you have a really wide open inner corner, and then it kind of goes into those deeper brown shades in the end. Okay, so now I'm mixing those colors. I'm going to get some on my brush, and I'm just going to pack it onto my eyelid. Okay, so now that I have that eyeshadow packed on, I'm going to take my MAC 217 brush, and I'm just going to ever so lightly blend my crease in with that champagne-y kind of color. And then I'm going to just take a little bit more of that kind of color, and I'm just going to kind of refocus it on my inner corner. Now if you want, you can always spray your brush with some setting spray or wet your brush and make the eyeshadow more foiled and intense. To do that, I'm just going to use some of my MAC Fix Plus setting spray, And I am just going to apply a little bit of that over everything just to really intensify that metallicness. Okay, so the eyeliner I'm using today is the Essence eyeliner pen, and it is the waterproof version. So it just has a little felt tip like this, and this is not the world's best eyeliner. I have a little bit of problems with it fading, but I find with a few layers it does pretty okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my eyeliner pen kind of horizontal like this. I'm going to kind of tilt up my head, and I'm just going to kind of flick the pen along, right along my eyelash line. Just very tight into my eyelash line. Just the slightest strokes. I'm not going to kind of try to make a perfect seamless line. I'm just going to kind of line the eyes to really define them. Now I think of eyeliner in this way as sort of like when you're kind of coloring something and then you just go back in with like a black Sharpie and just outline everything, and it just makes your design kind of pop. That's exactly how I view eyeliner. So I'm just going to make a really super thin line right along my eyelash line. And then what I'm going to do personally, this is total personal preference, is I'm going to do a slight wing eyeliner. So what I'm going to do is just follow that tape. As you can see, I'm doing right here. And just make the slightest flick. And take your time with this. Nothing super huge, no big cat eyes. I personally think those can be really overpowering and be a little bit more, not extra, but just kind of take away from your eye's natural beauty. But I feel like just a tiny little flick like this one will really just kind of elongate the eye. So that is all the eyeliner I'm going to be doing, but of course you can go thicker if you want, but I personally feel like this just defines the eye and just gives it the slightest little lift on that outer corner. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to peel off that tape, and as you can see it gives me a pretty defined line, but I'm going to just take a makeup wipe and kind of clean up any area that doesn't look super precise or anything. And I'm also just going to take a little bit more of that eyeliner and just kind of really clean up this edge. Just like so. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to work on my eyelashes. I'm going to curl my eyelashes. This will really open up your eyes and just kind of give a lift and curl to your natural lashes, and it just really opens up your eye shape. I am using the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. This mascara is just a cult favorite. Everybody uses this. When I went to I can never say his name, Mario Dedavinci, I think is how you say it. It's basically Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. When I went to his master class a couple years ago, the class that he uses this mascara on Kim, and it's just one of his favorites because it makes the lashes super dark. I absolutely love it. It's super inexpensive, and I believe they have a waterproof version if you are a crier or if your eyelids are super oily. Okay, so the next really important step is false eyelashes. I believe this is a make or break for your look personally. I am going to be using these Ardell natural lashes in the style 118, and they're in the black color. These are pretty dramatic. They're just kind of wispy on the ends. I don't know if you can see that, but they have some kind of clusters of lashes. But an important thing I think about lashes is that they flare out on the ends. This will also enhance that really feline eye shape that we've been trying to create throughout this entire makeup look. So I'm just going to be using these, and it's so important that you trim these down so that they fit your eye shape. I always have to trim mine, and that is just so important so that they're not kind of falling off as you're doing your eye makeup. They're not like all over the place. So I'm going to trim these down. The glue I am using is the Duo Dark Tone Eyelash Glue. You can get this at your local Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, basically anywhere that sells like drugstore makeup. So if you're applying these to yourself, you kind of want to tilt your eye upwards and place the lash directly down onto your lash line as close as you can to your natural lashes. If you're doing it on someone else, just have them kind of close their eye or look down and just, you know, press it along their lash line. So I am just going to tilt my head up. I'm just going to place the lash, and I'm going to first kind of stick the outer corner to my outer corner, and then I'm going to work on pressing the inner corner in, and then I will kind of go along. Okay guys, so my eye makeup is mostly complete, so now I'm going to move on to my skin. So as you can see, my skin is really breaking out right now. I am just way overwhelmed with school and stuff recently, so my skin has just been kind of flipping out. So I am going to be using a really full coverage foundation, and even if you don't struggle with acne like I do, I think using a full coverage foundation for pictures, for a pageant, for stage is just super like important, because that way you won't look flushed or you won't like break out and be oily. So I'm going to show you my favorite foundation for things like this. So I love the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation, which just looks like this. I actually have it in a couple different shades. I have 101 and 104, and I normally mix these two to kind of get my perfect shade depending on what skin tone I'm at the moment. But before I even do that, I'm going to go ahead and prime. Today I'm using the L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base, which is just a super thick primer. I'll show you. It's very silicone-y, but it fills in your pores like no other, and it's just in this huge jar. I've had this jar for a couple years now, and I use a pretty good amount of it, and I just kind of press it into my pores, and it really makes your face look so smooth. I mean, like, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I can see it up close in my mirror. My pores literally are so much more blurred out. So I'm just using a brush to apply this, but that's just because I was mixing with this brush. Don't feel like you have to like apply it with a brush, because you can just slop it on there with your fingers. So another important thing I think is to use a light layer of it at first and then build up, because you don't want to put a ton on in your first layer and then you don't end up needing it and you just look really dry and kind of cakey and stuff. So just start with one layer and then slowly build up. Okay, so now I look pretty flat and pretty dead, which is where highlighting and contouring comes in. So I'm going to conceal and highlight with my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. So what I'm going to do is I am going to kind of go right up to the edge of my under eye right here, because I have a lot of darkness because I don't sleep. You don't sleep your junior year in high school when you're taking a bunch of AP classes. So yeah, I'm just going to put this all under my under eye, and I'm not going to go right along that sharp eyeshadow edge yet, because we're going to kind of do something with that. And this is a really cool trick I like to do. So if you're planning on contouring your nose or you want to slim it out, take your concealer and go on the edge of your nose like this, kind of create a straight line. This will make your nose look a lot slimmer and give it a lot more structure, and it will really help you out when you're going to contour. And also take your concealer right under your nose, because that area tends to get really red, especially with women, and then up onto your lip. I use a lot of concealer just because I like to. You do not have to use this much, but you could follow these general kind of guidelines and use way less concealer or less thick concealer. But this is one of the items I am willing to splurge on, because this concealer is amazing. But now I'm just going to use a little bit of that concealer from my under eye and this Mayron Stage Line brush, which is just a really small, precise brush. You could use any small brush and kind of make a sharp line against that eyeliner and eyeshadow, because this will really emphasize that eye shape once again. Okay, so now before I let that before that concealer completely dries, I'm going to go in with my beauty blender and some translucent powder, the same powder I used earlier, and I'm just going to pack that under my eyes. A lot of people use a brush to do this, but I personally feel that using your beauty sponge really just makes the under eye and the entire face actually a lot more smooth and seamless. And once again, you don't have to use brush strokes. I think a lot of people are afraid to use their beauty sponge to apply powder because they think it can only apply liquids, but that is not the case. It actually really does well with powder. Okay, so now it's time for the scary part for a majority of people, and that is contouring. So right now I'm looking pretty flat. The lighter concealer helps a little bit, but my face does not look really pop in and really chiseled and just really like vibrant. So I'm going to go in with the Hoola Benefit bronzer. And I love this product. It is super, super amazing. It is matte. I recommend a matte bronzer for this. I'm going to take the e.l.f. Mineral Powder Brush. I'm just going to get that in there, tap off the excess, and you're going to just go find the hollow of your cheekbone. And you're going to start close to your ear and just do a straight little line like this. With a light hand, you don't need to press it. You don't need to press it super harshly into your skin. Just kind of blend it. And I like to take it up into my hairline along the side of my temples. And also this kind of comes down to personal preference. I'm someone who likes a super heavy contour. So I usually go pretty harsh with this and just really build it up. But of course you can do more or less of this. And another tip to really chisel out your jawline is just to take it along your jawline and then slightly down your neck like that. So the reason I contour my bottom lip is to bring dimension to the face and also to make my lips look slightly more pouty and kind of just plump. So you just want to place a little bit kind of right in that hollow of your chin. And just make sure it's super blended out. You don't want like a super crazy line, but it ends up just looking kind of like a shadow. And for my nose, I just like to take it up to my brow bone and just follow the hollows of my nose. I think this looks super good if you really like a kind of smaller pinched nose sort of look like I do. But this is also kind of tricky. I am still not that good at this, so I would definitely say practice this. I mean, you should really practice your makeup, all of the makeup look beforehand, so you're not like super stressed when you're doing it for pageant time. But don't like worry about nose contour if it's not something you feel super comfortable with. Definitely don't worry about it because your nose is at the center of your face, so if you really don't like the way it turns out, then that can be a major makeup mishap. Did you see what I did there? Okay, so now this is almost as important as applying the dark contour shade. I'm going to go through with my translucent powder and clean everything up. I'm going to take my beauty blender once again and some of that translucent powder, and I'm going to go right under my cheekbone and place a thick coat of powder to really define and clean up that area. This will really make your contour precise and give you a really structured look. It makes your face look slimmer, it makes your cheekbones look higher, and it's just great because you will be messy with your contour like I am. It's just how it is. So this will really clean up any mistakes and bring some more dimension to the face. It's all about the dimension. And I also will take this on the sides of my nose to clean up that nose contour. I love really bright blush, which a lot of people do not love, but I think that's kind of a signature pageant thing to look really flushed and just really, you know, girly and just feminine with your bright pink cheeks. But I love this blush for any occasion, but especially for something like this. This is the IT Cosmetics Ombre Radiance Blush, and it looks like this. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to use the Luxie 504 angled brush, but you could really use any angled brush. I think e.l.f. has a angled brush that looks basically just like this, and I am just going to kind of smile like this. And I'm just going to kind of lightly flick it across my cheeks, and I'm bringing it up so that it kind of blends up into my contour and my hairline, because you don't want just to round circles, and this is totally personal preference of how much blush you like, and I like a lot, so I do quite a few layers of this. But like I said, just do it however much you like. I'm gonna go ahead and brush off that excess powder we've been baking with. I am using the Too Faced Candlelight Glow highlighter, which just looks like this. This is a beautiful highlighter that can be used almost as a face setting powder because it's just so natural and just glowy, and it just makes you look so like beautiful and radiant, and like your skin just looks healthy and you just look happy and glowing. I know that's a lot for just a product, but I really feel that this is a beautiful highlighter. But of course you can use any highlighter at all. I think it's super important not to be too heavy-handed with highlighter. I know really beaming highlight is a big thing nowadays, and I love doing that majority of the time, but I feel like for pageants it shouldn't overwhelm you, but it can be a really powerful tool to really just make you look very radiant. So I'm going to be using this Anastasia Beverly Hills brush that's just kind of fluffy at the end. Once again, use whatever brush. Don't feel like you need this one. I'm just going to take ever so slightly a bit of product, and I'm going to place it right at the top of my cheekbone. If you don't know where your cheekbones are, just smile and you can kind of see them. And just ever so slightly, I'm placing some of this at the top of my cheek, like that. And I'll turn and do it on the other cheek. And once again, I'm not doing so much that it's like a stripe across my face. You kind of want to move your brush up and down so it gets super blended. I like to just take my finger and kind of blend it into the skin, and this way when you're walking and you turn, you just get this beautiful glow. And I'm going to take it down the center of my nose. I love highlighting my nose. Of course you do not have to, but I think it really ties the look together. Also, highlight your Cupid's bow. This really defines your lips and gives your lips a really voluptuous kind of pretty look. And of course, just like anything, we want to make sure that highlight is blended and not a harsh line, so I'm just going to go over that with this e.l.f. brush just so everything looks really beautiful. I'm also going to go back into that Jaclyn Hill palette, and I'm going to pick out that same kind of creamy white shade we used earlier right here, and I'm going to take it on a, I'm going to just use that same eyeshadow brush we used earlier because it doesn't really matter, and I'm going to put this right in this hollow of my inner corner of my eye. So many people love this. I think this is just a must-do trick for everyday makeup, for pageant makeup, for any makeup, is to apply a light shade to your inner corner, something a few shades lighter than your skin tone, and just put that right here. This opens your eyes up so much, and it looks so beautiful in photography. And now I'm also going to take a little bit of this and just put it on my brow bone out of doing their brows, but I'm going to show you how much of a difference brows make. I really feel like it's so important that you do at least a little something to your brows because they just really will frame the face. So I'm just going to use this e.l.f. eyebrow kit, this brown powder shade. Mine is in the shade medium. I'm just going to use a flat angle brush. This one is from BH Cosmetics, and I'm going to take some of that, and never draw your eyebrows on from the top. Just kind of follow your natural hair pattern from the bottom and kind of just flick up like this. It doesn't have to be a super harsh brow. You can just very lightly fill in and just define the shape, and it will literally transform your face, I promise you. So this is a spoolie brush. It just looks like a mascara wand if you don't know. So just comb through those brows. Okay, so this is also a very important step. You want to set your brows so they stay in place and super defined. This is the Essence Lash and Brow Gel Mascara, and it was clear, but I've used it so it kind of looks brownish now, which is kind of gross, but whatever. And you just want to brush that through your brows. Okay, so now I am just going to take whatever is left over from my eyeshadow on my MAC 217 brush and just lightly apply some of that brown eyeshadow just ever so slightly to the outer lower lash line. And I'm going to finish off my lower lash line with the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. I'm also going to apply this to the upper lashes to just make them black and dark. and really blend my fake and natural lashes together. I can't find my favorite lip liner, but it is called Jordana Rock and Rose lip liner. If you are curious, it is a great drugstore lip liner. It's my favorite of all time. So I'm going to be using the MAC Whirl Lip Pencil, which is essentially the same shade, but I just prefer the Rock and Rose one. And this is a really pretty neutral kind of brownish mauve pink color. I am just going to use this to outline and line my lip. Now, I always just slightly overline my lips, but I would not recommend overlining your lips for the first time, or really just overlining them at all, because or overlining them too much, because it can just look really fake and just really kind of gross. I'm going to take this NYX Butter Lipstick. You can get this at the drugstore or at Ulta or Target. And it is just this really beautiful kind of mauve rosy pinky shade. Right here you can see it. And I'm just going to apply this all over my lips. I recommend wearing a really natural kind of pink or mauve or kind of brownish toned lip color, whatever you feel like really suits you. So what I'm going to do now is a trick that I absolutely love doing. I'm going to take a little bit of my concealer, just a tiny dab, you guys, and I'm just going to kind of put that on the back of my hand. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to just pat it in the center of my bottom and upper lip. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of a lighter color lip gloss right in the center where I put that concealer. I'm going to use Buxom White Russian to do this, but you could just use any lip gloss. This really makes your lips look 3D and pouty, and I just love the way it looks. And voila, we are almost finished. So now I am just going to set my entire face with my MAC Fix Plus setting spray. You should definitely use a setting spray. It does not have to be MAC Fix Plus. Okay guys, so this is my completed pageant photography stage makeup. It is so glamorous and so beautiful and just looks great for pictures. I have worn this look over and over and over again. I think it's great and it's very elegant, very classy, very feminine, and it just looks beautiful. So you just feel good and you look good and it's just great. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on all my other social medias, and comment down below what you thought of this video. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye!